Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star episode number 486 based on novel. So let's start. The 450,000 sector beasts were scattered, teleporting and moving forward from the main mountain of Tiled Peak sector. Luo Feng knew that he couldn't stop them now. No matter how powerful he was, he didn't have 10 million bodies, and the best he could do was kill 1 or 2 sector beasts. As for the other sector beasts, they could certainly make their way into the vast universe ocean. Kill! Luo Feng's eyes gleamed. Although he couldn't stop them, he would still try to kill as many as possible. Luo Feng kept teleporting, moving closer to one of the sector beasts. A blurry miniature universe was formed, and a giant palm was formed by chaos air, crushing the poor level 2 sector beast. After a short while, Luo Feng stood at the top of Tilted Peak sector, looked around the region. He shook his head. I can't stop them. The first 450,000 sector beasts rushed out, and so did the second batch of sector beasts. Luo Feng tried everything he could, but he was only able to kill 5 sector beasts. Compared to the 900,000 sector beasts, it was nothing. All 900,000 sector beasts have rushed out of Tilted Peak sector and entered Universe Ocean. Luo Feng looked solemn. It's going to be a huge problem now. They really stuck together and all rushed out. I'll have to see what I can do about it. Luo Feng shook his head and started to teleport, hurrying back to the original universe. Luo Feng didn't have enough options. He had known that there was a chance the remaining sector beasts would rush out after his mission. But he didn't have a choice. If he hadn't slaughtered all those sector beasts but let all of them fight each other, it would have only taken a short while before a sector beast at level 6 was born. Betty had been at level 5. Level 6 sector beasts had 10 million bodies, and it was very difficult to kill them. That would be a real catastrophe. He had to act in advance. He had killed more than 8 million sector beasts all at once, and that had been the best-case scenario, although this best-case scenario was still a disaster to all the races in Universe Ocean. This was indeed a disaster he had never encountered before. Yet now, there was still a chance they could survive this. With Luo Feng's power, he was able to fight 10,000 sector beasts by himself. As for the sector beasts, there weren't even any level 5 sector beasts. It was likely that they could survive that catastrophe. Luo Feng was teleporting, and he teleported faster than Betty at level 5. While all the sector beasts were scattered and rushing toward the races of Universe Ocean, Luo Feng was rushing back, as well. He knew that he couldn't stop all 900,000 sector beasts, so he held a meeting with all the races in the virtual universe. On the floating godly palace, true gods sat down, while Primal Chaos City leader and Luo Feng sat at the top. Below sat many true gods. All the true gods from all the powers in the original universe had gathered here, such as the demon race and the bug race. Clearly, the only chance they could survive this was to side with the humans. Everyone. Golden-caped Chaos and white-caped Luo Feng sat up top. The white-caped Luo Feng looked down. I've been to the land of darkness by myself. Everyone was stunned. The hive of the sector beasts. How did it go, Milky Way Horde leader? Everyone was worried. 9 Remoteness True Master, Space Beast Ancestor, and the others were all looking at him. As for the other true gods, they were quite worried. The white-caped Luo Feng said, it's a good news, bad news situation. The good news is, the number of sector beasts in the hive is decreasing. When I entered the hive, there were over 9 million sector beasts, and even the weakest one was as powerful as the sector beast that attacked us in Universe Ocean. What Luo Feng had just said terrified and shocked all the true gods below. Even Luo Feng was intimidated, not to mention them. However, the ways of the universe are fair, said Luo Feng. We have a chance to survive. Fortunately, I obtained a valuable that could only be used once. I attracted more than 8 million sector beasts to surround me, and I killed all 8 million at once. What? More than 8 million sector beasts at once? What kind of valuable was that? All the true gods were shocked. Luo Feng, however, was indifferent. He didn't care what those true gods thought, shocked, suspicious, craving that valuable, or speculating whether Luo Feng was able to use that valuable again. In all of Universe Ocean, Luo Feng was definitely the top great being. And he was much more powerful than everyone else. The human race was also definitely the top race. The bad news is, said Luo Feng, 900,000 sector beasts survived in the Land of Darkness, and all of them have left the Land of Darkness. They were approaching Universe Ocean. I myself am not powerful enough to stop all 900,000 from leaving. I think in at least one day, there will be sector beasts arriving at the miniature universes from the first universe era. A day? 900,000 sector beasts in Universe Ocean? Well, all the races were flabbergasted. It was a complete nightmare. All the races in Universe Ocean were panic-stricken from only one sector beast, and now there were 900,000 of them. The first universe era is doomed, and so is the second universe era. All the true gods now realized the truth. They were from the original universe, so they could use the original universe and the universe portals of their respective miniature universes to help them all. However, those from the first and the second universe era were left helpless. Even the original universe was terrified by the prospect of facing 900,000 sector beasts. What were they supposed to do? Everyone, said Luo Feng. I've already given you the news. Go prepare yourself. I'll also spread the news to the first universe era and the second universe era. They should at least know about it in advance. The news spread immediately. It was not just Luo Feng, the other true gods from the original universe also spread the news. The first universe era, the second universe era, Purple Moon Holy Land, and Eastern Emperor Holy Land all received the news. All 5 true masters of the Divine Eye clan gathered. They looked at each other, wanting to say something, but they didn't know where to start. We're doomed. We're doomed. 900,000 sector beasts. Just one sector beast is able to swallow miniature universes in a short time. If there is a large group of sector beasts, our miniature universes will be annihilated instantly, which means everyone living in our miniature universes will be killed as well. All 5 true masters were heartbroken. They would have rather died than let their entire race go extinct. However, there was nothing they could do about it now. You 4. Divine Eye True Master yelled. Leave your miniature universes now and get as far away as possible so those sector beasts can't find you. Then you 4 can survive. As for me, I'll try to approach the sector beasts to see if they are willing to accept me. If they are, there's a chance our Divine Eye clan can survive. Divine Eye, I'll do that. You 4 can leave. Teacher. The 5 true gods started to argue. No matter what, the true gods who ran away would be able to survive, but those who chose to stay might actually die. Even if they could succeed, the individuals would have a tragic destiny. The original mind had already sent a message through the ancestral god school, stating that turning to the side of the sector beasts was a pathetic thing to do. I'm one of the 8 great overlords in Universe Ocean, so I'm of the greatest use, yelled Divine Eye True Master. This is my final decision. The other 4 true gods looked at each other in pain. Yes. After only several minutes, the other 4 true masters left their miniature universes and started to flee. Inside Purple Moon Holy Land, Purple Moon Ancestor was stunned by the news. 900,000 sector beasts. He was walking in the palace by himself. As for the other great beings, he had already told them to leave. What should I do? If hundreds of thousands of sector beasts consume my miniature universe at the same time, I won't be able to resist for long. Purple Moon Ancestor couldn't have been more anxious. If my miniature universe is destroyed, I won't have any chance anymore. All my hope will be lost. As for my race, they'll be gone forever. Why is Milky Way Horde leader so useless? The first universe era, the second universe era, and the 2 Holy Lands received the news. The first universe era and the second universe era had lost all hope, as it was difficult for them even to help each other, so there was no way they could resist 900,000 sector beasts all at once. As for the 2 Holy Lands, They were relatively large, and they were much more resistant, so it would take a long time. When it came to the miniature universes of true gods, they could be easily finished in a short time. Fortunately, I've chosen to side with the sector beasts. Nine-headed demon master sat on the throne, feeling relieved. Although I am now only a slave of the sector beasts and have lost my freedom, my fate in the future could be worse. But at least it will be better than theirs. They'll soon die, but my race can live much longer. In the future, I can even try to transcend incarnations. If I can transcend incarnations, there might be a miracle so that I can escape from beneath the control of sector beasts. Nine-headed demon master was looking forward to it. In the space outside the miniature universe of nine-headed demon master, a winged, silver-armored man appeared. It was Luo Feng, who was rushing back from Tilted Peak sector as quickly as possible. He had taken a detour and passed by the miniature universe of nine-headed demon master. Luo Feng looked at the miniature universe in the distance and smiled coldly. Sector beasts need to ask their slaves questions face to face. Only sector beasts could communicate via their hearts, their slaves couldn't do that. Morosa had to meet nine-headed demon master, Dragon Rock ancestral god, and Jinjiao Emperor directly anytime it needed to ask them questions. I won't give you any chance to leak any information. Luo Feng knew that nine-headed demon master would be staying in his miniature universe, waiting for the sector beasts. Die? Blood Ghost Blade showed up in his hand. Destruction, when performed by a level 5 sector beast, was strong enough to destroy a miniature universe, and Luo Feng's supreme blade techniques were already just as powerful as destruction. Luo Feng looked afar at nine-headed demon master's miniature universe. On his body, he wore Wu Qi God, which was instantly propelled to reach its ultimate limit, and the powerful force was directly transmitted to Blood Ghost Blade in his grip. Destroy. Blood Ghost Blade lit up. An incredibly dazzling, white gold, arc-shaped blade of light, almost as long as 1 light year, flashed mightily across the void space and slashed the membrane wall of the distant miniature universe. Soundlessly, a crack appeared on the membrane walls of the miniature universe. Then the blade of light flew off horizontally toward the origin of the miniature universe. The origin would be right in the middle of the miniature universe. Huh? On his throne, nine-headed demon master's expression registered a drastic change. He was greatly taken aback. What is? The mighty blade of light was incredibly fast. Its speed far exceeded 100 million times light speed. It was important to note that the speed at which the godly king's corpse drifted was suspected of being able to greatly exceed 100 million times light speed. The attack speed of that blade of light was naturally much faster. Even though the diameter of the miniature universe was quite large, it was estimated that it would not take more than half a day to fly to where the origin was. Everywhere that the blade light passed by, a crack would appear on the surface and a great number of life forms living within those spaces would be annihilated. What a terrifying blade of light! Nine-headed demon master was shocked and furious. It must be Luo Feng. It must be him. The sector beasts would not attack him. And the other great beings from the various races of Universe Ocean were simply incapable of achieving something like this. Only Luo Feng could possibly accomplish this. The only thing that nine-headed demon master had not expected was that Luo Feng would be so terrifying. I cannot let him destroy the origin. Nine-headed demon master absolutely would not allow such a thing to happen. Nine-headed demon master teleported right away. He boarded a golden battleship, which quickly expanded to a length of 1 light year. Then it appeared in the peripheral void space of one of the surfaces of the affected spaces, blocking the path on which the white gold blade of light was advancing. I am not going to believe that you can destroy this true god-level treasure. Nine-headed demon master said through clenched teeth. Even a true god of void space would be unable to destroy a true god's weapon, let alone a battleship especially able to block off material attacks. It's coming. Nine-headed demon master held his breath with apprehension. The dazzling, white gold blade of light slammed and crashed right into the golden battleship. There was a sudden vibration as the arc-shaped blade exploded right away and transformed into an endless shock wave that swept outward in all directions. Suddenly, all the surfaces in the surroundings seemed to become bubbles that burst and disintegrated into nothingness in split seconds. The countless life forms in these spaces were annihilated before they even had the chance to react. At the same time, the battleship, upon being struck, was overwhelmed by the tremors and thrown far into the distance at high speed. Huh? Luo Feng's brows furrowed as he stood suspended in the void space outside the miniature universe. Seems like I still need to get in there. Luo Feng drove Star Tower right into the miniature universe, crashing into its membrane wall to cause it to fall apart. Then, right away, he charged inside. Teleporting repeatedly, he made his way deeper into the miniature universe at top speed. Freeze! Nine-headed Demon Master, in its tumbling battleship, immediately realized that Star Tower had forced its way in and was teleporting about. It became so frightened that it wasted no time in manipulating the space in his miniature universe so as to prevent Luo Feng from teleporting. Humph! Luo Feng merely snorted coldly. If he hadn't been rushed for time, he could have flown over at high speed to where the origin was and smashed it to nothingness with one strike. But now, with 900,000 sector beasts entering Universe Ocean, time was not a luxury he could afford to waste on Nine-Headed Demon Master. All he could do was execute his trump card. Establish a universe with one single thought. A sharp glint flashed in Luo Feng's eyes. At present, Shawu Wings, with the origin as its core, would bring its energy to undergo a transformation. Then it would execute the fourth level of establishing a universe with one single thought. It was considered to truly be an automaton-type treasure. A vast miniature universe was born instantly with a diameter as wide as 10,000 light-years. When the origin was not being used, Luo Feng would find it an arduous task to execute this move, and the miniature universe would not be able to get so big. But at this moment, it could reach a diameter of 10,000 light-years. At times when there was no origin, the might of the miniature universe that Luo Feng displayed exceeded the might of a miniature universe of a true god, not to mention now. Move! With a single teleportation, Luo Feng covered a distance of close to 50,000 light-years. His Shawu wings were the core of this miniature universe. When the wings changed location, the miniature universe naturally changed, too. The so-called universe membrane wall was, in fact, not worth a mention. Regardless of whether it was the primal universe or the miniature universe of a true god, it was only a small matter when the membrane walls were bombarded and broken, as they would soon be naturally repaired. The membrane walls were only the equivalent of a boundary. This was the boundary that the power of the origin could influence. The power of the origin could spread into areas within this boundary, but outside this area, the power of the origin could not affect anything. When Luo Feng teleported, his miniature universe naturally followed suit. Every time he advanced, it was a distance of 50,000 light-years, so within a short time, a few million light-years had been covered. This only enhanced Nine-Headed Demon Master's fear. He was no longer bothered about his miniature universe, as he had quickly boarded his battleship and escaped. But he knew that if Luo Feng caught up with him, it meant certain death. Destroy. Luo Feng wielded his blood ghost blade. The dazzling golden blade light sliced through the faraway origin that was set amidst a vast, chaotic setting. The origin was trying its best to resist, but it was still being bombarded and blown apart. All of the space within the entire miniature universe had collapsed, and all the living beings were annihilated. Only Nine-Headed Demon Master was alive, panicking and escaping in a frenzied manner. Escape? Luo Feng retracted the miniature universe that Shawu Wings had created and teleported quickly, chasing after Nine-Headed Demon Master. In less than 2 minutes. Milky Way Horde leader, Nine-Headed Demon Master said, trying to explain himself. He was filled with fear within its battleship. I was left with no choice. I did not want my entire race to be annihilated, and I also. Luo Feng gave him a look of indifference. Star Tower appeared and remained suspended high above. Right away, from the base of Star Tower, an endless darkness shrouded Nine-Headed Demon Master. An infinitely huge miniature universe appeared. After confining Nine-Headed Demon Master in Star Tower, Luo Feng speedily made his way back. On the way, he made use of Divine Eye technique to force Nine-Headed Demon Master out of his battleship, thereafter annihilating him without much difficulty. Divine Eye technique was an attack on the conscious mind. A palace-type treasure, even one as strong as Star Tower, would not be able to put up a defense against such an ethereal kind of attack on the conscious mind. Primal Universe, the territory of the humans, Milky Way Holy Land. Numerous gigantic doors of universe passageways were scattered all over the surroundings of Milky Way Holy Land as they remained suspended in void space. Every door of a universe passageway represented a miniature universe. Rise! Rise! Various true gods were there. Some were gigantic, green plant-type life forms. Some were true gods in the form of long, winding beasts. Some were towering, mountain-type life forms. All the true gods from the primal universe had arrived at Milky Way Holy Land and constructed their universe passageways amid the surroundings. This way, help could arrive at any miniature universe in the fastest possible time. In the past, true gods had not dared to enter other miniature universes because the moment they entered another miniature universe, their lives, and their deaths, would be under the control of the other party. But now, things were different. The power of the origin of a miniature universe was limited. It was still inferior to Luo Feng's technique of establishing a universe with a single thought. In the past, true gods had not owned automaton-type treasures. Many had not even owned palace-type supreme true treasures, which naturally made it easy for the power of the origin of a miniature universe to kill a true god. Even with a palace supreme true treasure, true gods were still easily suppressed for eternity, and escape was impossible. But now, the true gods were more powerful and they also had automaton-type treasures. Even the power of the origin of a miniature universe would not be able to exert any oppressive force. Milky Way. Milky Way Horde Leader. Milky Way Horde Leader. When Luo Feng appeared, all the true gods who had constructed universe passageways greeted him right away. There were even some who naturally responded with traces of deference. Within Universe Ocean, it had always been the great beings with physical power who reigned supremacy. With Milky Way Horde Leader's power, he would undoubtedly gain great respect. Moreover, he now represented the hope of the various races. Who would dare ignore his presence? Attention, all. Luo Feng looked around at the large group of true gods. In the face of this crisis, all of us from the primal universe must unite. It is very rare for humans to have huge godly bodies, but most of you here do have huge godly bodies. When it comes to confronting the sector beasts, we will need to rely on any help all of you can render. It was true. Among the human race, those who became true gods were those who were almost universe masters a trillion centuries prior. There was also a portion of newly appointed true gods who had emerged after that. These were talents like Fire Dome True God. Because humans normally had small godly bodies, even if they had the ability to divide bodies, it was hard to come by individuals with large godly bodies. As for the other life forms, like the mountains and the trees and plant types, they were naturally endowed with exceptionally large godly bodies. We will all try our very best. We shall fight this battle to our deaths. One by one, the true gods responded. Luo Feng nodded gently. His expression did not ease up a bit. There was simply no way to find these responses reassuring. Luo Feng. Suddenly, streams of flowing light were seen from a distance. Instantly, the lights descended, and Primal Chaos City Leader, 9 Remoteness True Master, and several other true gods appeared. Teacher? Luo Feng approached the group to extend his welcome. Just as you have expected, Primal Chaos City Leader said solemnly, the sector beasts have started to attack the peripheral miniature universe of the first reincarnation era. Such a vast and mighty sea of sector beasts. There is simply no way we can stop them. Luo Feng remained silent. Of course, he knew. By relying on Morosa, he knew everything about the sector beasts. Yet, even if he knew, what could he do about it? Milky Way Horde Leader, please save my skeleton race. Milky Way Horde Leader. Oh, please save the people of my rampaging clan. Milky Way Horde Leader. One after another, the true gods were begging for help. When news broke about miniature universes from the first and second reincarnation eras being attacked, the true gods from these two reincarnation eras went into a frenzy and went about begging for help. Even those whose miniature universes had yet to be attacked were starting to seek help. However, the human race, as well as the various races from the primal universe, did not send out a single army to help. Sorry. There's nothing I can do. Dear all, there is no stopping this. It is better for you to all run for your dear lives. Luo Feng replied most courteously, but the cruelty embedded in his words made everyone from the first and second reincarnation eras despair. Regardless of whether it was Luo Feng, Primal Chaos City leader, or Nine Remoteness True Master, there was only rejection. No grounds for discussion. This is the cruelest moment for all of Universe Ocean, Nine Remoteness True Master said in a low voice. Even Primal Chaos City leader could only say, this is a calamity. Luo Feng merely looked into the void space far in the distance. He knew that in that direction, there was another miniature universe belonging to the skeleton race, and at that very moment, it was being devoured. There was nothing he could do about this. He could only watch it all happen, and there was nothing he could do. Skeleton Master, what will become of our skeleton race? Almost finished. Outside a particular miniature universe, a few thousand sector beasts were scattered all over the place, and a black fog shrouded the whole region, with streams of distorted light rays penetrating the void space. At the moment, these few thousand sector beasts were devouring a particular miniature universe altogether, causing its origin to be devoured at an extremely fast rate, so fast that the true gods of the skeleton race were filled with fear. A few more minutes was all that would be required, and the entire miniature universe would be completely devoured. I am Skeleton Master. One of the 8 heroes of Universe Ocean, announced Skeleton Master. I am willing to pledge my allegiance to you, sector beasts, but please, I beseech you all to let my skeleton race go. And with that, Skeleton Master sincerely expressed his willingness to seek refuge with the sector beasts. This video will end here.